Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Philly Tech Week. I hope this is just one of many events that you're attending this week. Well, my name is Kate Rivera. I am the Executive Director of the Technology Learning Collaborative, or TLC. I'm going to kick things off with a little bit of background on TLC and why we're here today. But first, before I do that, I'll also just ask my colleague, David, to introduce himself as well.
Hey everybody, I'm David Cooper Moore. I'm the Director of Learning and Engagement for Technology Learning Collaborative. I work with a lot of our program partners and member organizations, supporting with professional development and other resources. And we have some of our member orgs who serve as digital navigators in the city here today. So we're going to hear from them during this talk.
Great. So TLC, we are what's known as a digital equity coalition. So the idea behind digital equity, David's going to explain this a little bit more, a little bit further on during our presentation today. But this is, if you think about sort of a nonprofit or social services approach to technology, or kind of we're the nonprofit part of the tech ecosystem is the way that I like to think about it. So the idea behind digital equity is really just helping people to make sure they have internet access and access to technology. And this is work that is often carried out by nonprofits, many who maybe have kind of other kind of missions of their main focus area. But what we've realized, in today's society, technology is such a core part of our lives that it's really essential for individuals, not only for economic mobility, but also just for like day-to-day functioning, right? And so TLC. And we operate as a coalition. This means that we are a nonprofit. We do not provide direct services ourselves. Instead, we support the ecosystem of organizations that are doing digital equity work in the greater Philadelphia area. So on our next slide, start to talk about this a little bit. So basically, we are, as a coalition, we have members from a number of different organizations across the greater Philadelphia area, over 500 individuals on our listserv. And these are people who may do digital equity work like digital literacy or digital skills programming, media literacy, technology access, kind of workforce training. As I mentioned, the work that happens in this sector, it's often being done by organizations that are providing social services, that are training people for jobs, helping people find jobs or apply for jobs, maybe helping people with helping adults, gain education, all of these different issue areas. And then they know as a part of their work that technology access is really important and have incorporated that into their work. So the conversation today is going to be for both, this is the first time you've ever heard the words digital equity or like, heard them defined. Like this is a great time for you to learn about this ecosystem and the work that's happening, and the resources that are available for community members to get connected. Or if you've been working in this space for a long time, it's going to be a great kind of refresher on what resources are available, where you can refer people for additional support, things along those lines. So, just a little bit more about TLC. I said we're a coalition, so you might be like, well, what do you actually do? There are three main things that we do. One is a focus on community and collaboration. So we create spaces both virtually and in person for individuals who are working in this field to connect and share resources. We do outreach to kind of grow this ecosystem and have more organizations involved. And we really focus on this idea of collaboration, have organizations working together to increase their impact. Our second kind of pillar is professional development and capacity building. So that includes webinars like this one, where we're kind of explaining the basics behind digital equity, as well as kind of webinars that might focus on other specific topics within this field. We do in-person meetups where you can learn about the work of some of the organizations that are doing great work. Um, and also we can provide kind of one-on-one support to organizations that may be trying to figure out how to incorporate digital equity into their work. We also support a great digital navigator network here in the greater Philadelphia area, which you'll hear more about soon. And we have an annual conference, which one-day event, save the date. It's always a really great time, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in charge of it. It's going to be on October 6th. We don't have registration open yet, just a save the date, but October 6th of this year, mark the day off and come to our conference. And sort of the last pillar here is advocacy and education, which is a really big one for us. We know this is an issue that's super important, but not often at the front of the top of mind, um, front of the radar. I don't know what analogy I was going for there, for a lot of people. And so a lot of what we do is have conversations with funders, elected officials, other decision makers to kind of educate them on these issues and lift up the voices and the work that's happening in the field. And then I think next slide, I'm going to turn things over to David to continue the conversation.
Yeah, I'm just going to put in a quick plug to join our membership list if you're not there already. We have two ways to join us. You can sign up for our listserv or for our newsletter as an individual. You can also sign up for an organizational membership, which you can find if you just hit that Join Us button over here in the corner. So we really recommend that you go to our website, not just because it is brand new and looks amazing. Thank you to our partners at HopeWorks for putting together a cool new website with us. Um, and I'll also encourage you to check out our resources tab. I'm going to talk about some of those resources today before we turn our conversation to our digital navigator folks who we have on the call. But yeah, the website has a lot of good first steps for getting connected with us and getting connected with the broader digital equity community. So please check it out. Um, so that kind of leads us to a question for folks who may be new to this field of what is digital equity and digital navigation. These are words that you may be familiar with if you're working in organizations that do some of this work. These may be phrases that you just hear around, people kind of mention. So I want to kind of quickly go through a little bit around why we center digital equity in the work that we do, and how we engage with digital navigators in the Philadelphia. So I really love this graphic. This is from the Alliance for Digital Equity, a cool GIF or GIF or however you want to pronounce it, about what digital equity kind of does. And the reality is that digital skills are required for lots and lots of really key important facets of life that we're not always digitally connected, right? So if you want to be connected with your health, you need to understand, health portals, telehealth conferencing, and all kinds of stuff. If you want to be civically engaged, you have to figure out online, ways to connect. If you want any kind of employment, right from job search through resume building, even to the interviews in some case, you need to have some kind of digital interface for all of that. And really basic stuff like food, transportation, banking, housing, education, all of these things are getting more and more digital components that folks are sort of increasingly in need of more complex digital skills just to access. And in order to access those things, they need some really essential components, right, of being connected. Part of being connected is just having access to the internet, and specifically having high-speed internet at home, right? Wherever you are, you need to have access to high-speed internet. You need access to devices to get onto the internet with, and what those devices are, what's appropriate, kind of depends on your need. You need the knowledge and skills to use those devices and to navigate the really complex landscapes. And then you need a lot of comfort and trust, both with operating technology and with the groups that you're connecting with. That comfort and trust piece is why the digital navigator model that we're going to talk about today is so important. These are community liaisons that build a lot of trust in an area that can be very scary and intimidating for people. Even folks with a lot of facility with digital technology probably noticed that, scams are on the rise, misinformation is kind of everywhere. And these things are getting more complex and more targeted as we kind of move along. And so having community partners in this is a really important part of the digital equity framework. And we really focus on the fact that no one person can do all of these things, right? We need to connect not only with folks that specialize in internet access and devices and digital skills, but we also need to connect with all of those groups that are connected to the services that people are using digital technology to access. So we need to connect with the public health folks. We need to connect with workforce, right? We need to connect with people that are doing food and housing security. We need to connect with educators and all kinds of communities. So this is a really important concept to kind of keep in mind as we're doing this work. A couple of things that we really like to focus on when we talk about first step resources for folks that may be new to this space is to kind of go through those aspects of digital equity and just talk about kind of what's out there. We may get into this in a little bit more detail with our digital navigators. And what I will say up front is if you are looking for ways to connect your clients into the digital equity ecosystem, whether that is getting them internet access or device access or access to digital skills, connecting with digital navigators where they are available is really key to that. There are 4 digital navigator organizations that work in Philly right now who we're going to meet representatives from. And the city also has in-house digital navigators that you can reach through their 311 system. So you call 311, you get connected to digital navigators at the city. They may help refer out to our other organizations, but that's a really important first step. But I do want to go through each of those major components because there's a lot happening in Philadelphia that we find that not everybody is always aware of everything that is available for folks that are looking for support in these areas. The first one that we always just kind of remind folks is that there are subsidized internet programs out there for folks who qualify, usually by income or benefits access. Those include private plans like Comcast Xfinity's Internet Essentials, which is $15 a month for internet speeds if you with proof of subsidy verification. And Verizon also has a subsidy program where you can get internet as low as $20 a month, depending on how the benefit is applied through the Lifeline program, the federal Lifeline program, or other benefits verification. There's also PCs for People, which is a group that does a lot of work with refurbished computers and with access to, less expensive devices. They have their own fixed wireless plan that is available through a hotspot that they provide. Those hotspots are available for $60 for the hotspot and then $15 a month for an unlimited data plan. Um, However, when we're talking about internet access for folks, we also want to make sure people know about a few free and alternative internet programs that may be available depending on where clients are located and what they have access to. One is a pilot program that's happening with PCs for People in collaboration with the Community College of Philadelphia, where folks can get connected to high-speed internet and a laptop, which I believe they still have those available. It's a limited stock. It's a first come, first serve. For folks in West Philly, you may have access to this network that they are piloting right now. And I've heard good things about it as a network. There's a lot of folks that we work with that have been connected with it. There's also Philly Community Wireless, which is a nonprofit group that works with communities to build out community Wi-Fi that is free at point of service. And so folks are able to access this Wi-Fi in public spaces, but may also have access to it in private residences for free. That's all delivered through the Philly Whisper network, which is another ISP in the area. You can get a paid, private plan from Philly Whisper, but if you're in the Philly Community Wireless coverage area, you may be able to connect with them around Wi-Fi access in that way. The city also has their Philly Free Wi-Fi Finder, which I have now said enough times that I don't trip up on it. It's Philly Free Wi-Fi Finder. I can say it many times. You can find out where there's free Wi-Fi available. That includes things like Comcast Lift Zones, which are areas of free Wi-Fi that they have available, libraries that offer Wi-Fi access, and other access points at rec centers that the city is rolling out. So there are a lot of alternatives to internet access. Another one that is available for some folks that you may work with are free hotspots that are still available through the city's Office of Innovation and Technology. That would be at that 311 number, and we'll have a whole slide up for the whole second half of the presentation about 311. But there are hotspots that are available for folks, and that was originally a program that was designed for K-12 families during the pandemic, and it has expanded to adults that qualify. Just be in touch with 311 about that qualification. If you have questions about that, we can talk about that during our Q&A. I wanted to mention for device access, getting access to devices for folks is really tough. It's a really tough thing nationally. We work with a lot of groups, and getting reliable access to laptops, especially, is something that we're always kind of working to improve. Two things I wanted to single out here is the Office of Innovation and Technology's Power Up Tours. You may have heard about these going through council districts, and they had their huge event at Temple last month where they gave away, I want to say 1,600 laptops, something in that range. There are a couple other providers in the city that also offer free laptops. So some of our digital navigator groups have laptops that they can provide to folks who have completed digital skills training. Temple also has their ABC Skills program, where completion of some of the programming at Temple's Digital Access Center gets a free computer upon completing the program. So I just wanted to mention that. And then digital skills, right? So there's a lot of opportunities to use digital skills and get digital skills training in the city. All of these educational providers are connected through the Next Level Learning program that kind of connects a lot of different education providers in the city. So there's a number that you can call that will connect you to those folks. 311 can also connect you to a digital navigator that may be able to refer to organizations providing digital skills. But the Mayor's Office of Education has also done a lot of investment in the North Star Digital Literacy platform. So a lot of community organizations that TLC works with, that are kind of in this network, have access to North Star accounts. So even folks that are not providing structured North Star programming all the time may have access to North Star learner accounts for folks that are looking for ways to connect to that. So there's a lot of options. And if you ever have questions about these resources or want to learn more, you can always feel free to email us, and we're happy to just, check in one-on-one and see what might work well with your organization. We do a lot of like matchmaking where we'll just talk to folks, be like, okay, so the closest digital navigators here, this is your library, this is what's available. But I like to go over these general resources for folks if you haven't been aware of some of the resources that are available in the city. The really big resource in the city, though, that I want to spend more time today talking about is the Digital Navigator Network. Digital navigators are, as a job category, is a position that became, it's existed before the pandemic, but during the pandemic especially, the need for people who could really work on specialized help tasks related to getting people connected to the internet, especially at home, and getting devices, became really, really key. And so this job class sort of really developed a lot over the past 5 or 6 years. We always point folks that are interested in this landscape towards the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, which is the country's sort of digital equity coalition for the whole country. At NDIA's website, you can see lots of resources that will give you background on some of this, some of these topics. We'll give you how-to guides and quick start guides for it, and also give you a glimpse of how other folks in other parts of the country are doing some of the same work. In Philly, our digital navigators comprise these four core organizations and a group that works directly with the city. The four organizations are Beyond Literacy, CMAC, Drexel, and Esperanza. And then at the city, just once again, they have a centralized number through the 311 non-emergency municipal services line. You call 311, you ask to be connected to a digital navigator, and they'll be able to sometimes take that call and support folks with their needs or refer to other organizations doing this work. So this is the part where we get to have a conversation with some of those digital navigators that are doing some of this work. If folks have specific questions for the digital navigators, go ahead and put those in the chat, and we may be able to kind of get to those or open things up really at the very end for folks to ask questions. But I wanted to give the folks that are here today that are doing digital navigation work an opportunity to introduce themselves and just tell us a little bit about their organization and what your organization does. So I'd love to start with Kevin Young at Drexel.
Well, thank you so much, David. Thanks for being here. My name is Kevin Young, and I am a digital navigator and outreach specialist with Drexel University. Our program is one where we do a lot more than simple digital navigating. The digital navigation program is sort of a conduit, and we get folks who will start off being interested in maybe getting a hotspot or getting a more awareness of their cell phone, for example, and then they start to find out that there are digital courses available to them, and as well that we do give them an opportunity to earn a laptop. So one of the things with what we do is we have to keep telling people why and what the catch is. They keep asking us, well, what's the catch? What's the catch? You want to give away a free laptop. Well, and the only catch is that you engage this, you put your time in it, you put your energy in it, and you actually learn something. They never have to come out of their pockets for this. It's just about their participation. We do connect up with the North Star platform, and North Star has been a great platform for us, just so as to make it such that everybody is starting off at the same space. We'll find that most people in our particular area, they need to sort of lessen that overall fear factor. And once you get past the fear factor and start off with some relatively introductory coursework, you'll find that in no time they're actually graduating and moving themselves into intermediate coursework. And the way that it works for us is we just assign 6 modules. They'll go through the modules, and each module is relatively easy and effortless to go through. It takes them about 30 minutes or so to read through it, digest that information, learn it, take those preliminary skills tests. And then when they're ready to take the final assessment, that's actually the only time they're required to come into our location. So they can do this fully remotely and on their own. Libraries, for example, as well, if they don't have access and they don't have internet services. And then that sort of dovetails into, well, you don't have internet service. Well, why don't you have internet service? Do you want internet service? And then you start asking those questions. And then they start telling us things about their household or their life circumstances. And then that engages all of the other cohorts that we have and individuals that we have, organizations that are here with Drexel.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Yeah, I really love the that learn to earn model, right? So, what's nice about some of the courseware that we have access to is that for some folks, doing a hybrid schedule is really convenient for them to learn some of the skills, but they still have to come in to take the test and get the computer.
Sure.
So that's a really cool balance that you guys have. Want to turn things over to Alex from Esperanza. Tell us a little bit about your work.
Sure thing. Yeah, so my name is Alex Garcia Miles. I'm the director of the Digital Skills program here at Esperanza. We call it Hope Digital Skills. Um, yeah, and Esperanza, we do very similar structure to what you're hearing from Kevin over at Drexel. We have computer skills classes that people can attend, and they can earn a laptop through their participation. The other thing that we do a lot of is one-on-one tutoring and digital navigation. So beyond helping folks get connected to internet and troubleshooting issues with their device or doing one-off little projects. We'll also do one-on-one tutoring. So if someone has something that's more advanced than we might cover in one of our workshops or more specific to them, we will meet with them and do lessons to get them to whatever goal it is that they have. The other thing that differs is that we pretty much do everything in person. We will do those one-on-one tutoring sessions virtually as needed, but our audience primarily are people who are beginners that don't like super beginners that just don't really have the capacity to do an online platform or engage in like a virtual meeting very successfully. So our primary audience are folks that come in person and that are in the neighborhood, the immediate neighborhood, basically. Um, let's see. Outside of that, yeah, our model, it doesn't require someone to uh, pass the test or engage in for super long term with our program before they're able to receive the laptop. They do need to engage at least in a couple of our classes. The other thing is that the downside of this is that we use up our devices substantially faster. But pros and cons to that. Let's see. Anything else that I'm missing? Yeah, those are sort of the main differences. Other than that, I mean, it's basically, yeah, you're going to hear a lot of similarities, I think, between the things that we do here at Esperanza and Drexel and Beyond Literacy and CMAC as well.
Thank you. Yeah, there's this sort of through line of core services that everybody provides, but each organization is going to differ on their exact approach depending on where they are and who their clients are, their own history, how it interacts with the rest of your organization. You have a big system like Drexel or like Esperanza, and even just the internal coordination can be really, really important. How about Kieran from Beyond Literacy?
Thanks, David. Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Farrell. I was formerly the Director of Student Support Services and Digital Equity Programming at BLIT. Beyond Literacy is a longstanding adult ed program in the city, largest in the city, one of the largest in the state. We serve over 2,000 adults a year with a whole range of different education programming. We provide small group tutoring for folks developing their foundational literacy and numeracy skills through folks looking to get their high school diploma or pass advanced assessments to get into career, like energy sector careers. We provide ESOL classes, family literacy classes, digital skills classes. We have a workforce development program. And so our digital navigation program is kind of nestled in there. It provides support across all of those programs, and then citywide as well for folks who are in need of connectivity, access, skills, the support to put it all together and be able to make good use of it. Yeah, I feel like I ran through that pretty quickly. I am recently, my job has recently changed to the Chief Advancement Officer for the organization. So I'm happy to be able to kind of big picture look for funding opportunities to support, our digital navigation program and our other core education programming. So, and TLC has been, great in supporting us along the way. So happy to join today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Beyond Literacy is big, and you're moving into a big role. It's really exciting. And also, Kira, I know, Kieran, you have a very long history with digital navigation programming in Philly generally. So I may ask you a little bit about that because I think of the four digital navigators that are here, you have been in that development of that program the longest. So that'll be an interesting.
I remember the early
Yeah.
COVID days of
Yeah, the
trying
days
to scrap
everybody.
it together. Yeah.
Yeah. And Joe from Office of Innovation Technology.
Thanks, David. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Joe. I'm a digital navigator with the city. Um, as David alluded to earlier, there's four of us here that work within the city's Office of Innovation Technology, and we kind of split our time up amongst these organizations. I work at CMAC once a week. My colleagues, Damien's at Esperanza with Alex, Cliff is at Beyond Literacy with Karen, and Malcolm is out at Drexel. So yeah, we're try to be omnipresent within the community. We also field a lot of the 311 calls, and we'll kind of handle them ourselves internally or coordinate with our partners in answering that as well. A couple other initiatives that I've done in my brief time here. I'm still kind of considering myself relatively new to the city. I'm from Pittsburgh, originally moved here about 6 months ago to start in this role. I've also worked with David alongside with some people at Jefferson for the Spark Innovation Academy, which is kind of digital literacy in a way, but more towards geared towards working professionals. I've started doing some like one-off workshops at our innovation lab here in Center City, in the JFK, or I'm sorry, JFK Boulevard. Um, doing like just more of those kind of workshops, one-offs once a week. Once again, centered towards like working professionals, kind of professional development kind of thing. So yeah, it's kind of what we do here in a nutshell.
That's great. I'd love to talk through the history of the digital navigators. I mean, one thing that I think is very clear when you go outside of Philadelphia, but is less clear when you're in the thick of it, is that Philadelphia actually has a pretty robust and well-developed digital navigator network. There are other cities around the country that really invested very heavily into kind of like a central network for digital navigation, especially during the pandemic. But the interplay between the city, right, between the Office of Innovation Technology, between nonprofits, between anchor institutions in Philly, we talk about this stuff nationally, and people are like, "Oh, wow, you like you really did it. That's amazing." And so I'd love to talk a little bit about the history that each of you bring to it. I know that each of you has kind of it has a different entry point, and so I'm curious what your reflections are on. What it has looked like as this network has evolved over time. And so, Kieran, I thought we would start with you since you've been there since, I think you and Kate have probably been in this space the longest of anybody on this, anybody who's visual on the call anyway. I know we got a few people that are not out on camera that have been there
Well,
at the same time.
Kate has definitely been in it for longer. You know, technology and tech needs have always been a part of like the adult ed because, in order for folks to take their online assessments and be able to apply for jobs, we always had I ran computer classes and open labs and things like that. But if you didn't have a computer, it wasn't a big deal. If you didn't have internet, it wasn't a big deal. So once COVID hit and we had to pivot all of our classes to online, suddenly we all became de facto digital navigators, even though we didn't know what that term was yet. So we were sourcing terrible Chromebooks from wherever we could for our learners so they could continue, classes with them, and we didn't lose touch with them. And we had a lot of folks who are frontline healthcare workers, so it was a very like I think we forget what a really upsetting and traumatic and frightening time it was. So keeping people attached to education, that was really it's important for them, and we knew that. So. So it was pretty fly by the seat of our pants, and until the city released information that they were looking to create a funding source to support organizations who could continue doing the kind of work that we were doing very unofficially and very haphazardly to some degree, but getting it done. To your point, David, about an already existing uh, ecosystem where the work was already there was some groundwork already laid, and there was definitely a plan that was already in place. And there was energy and now some funding to support what were like emerging emergency kind of management mode needs at that point. And it obviously has been able to grow and develop into a sustained program for the city. So yeah. Yeah, Andy, I
Oh
see
yeah,
his hand. He was
yeah,
he was part of those early chaos days too.
yeah. Andy's been around the block since the beginning too.
Like it's a way of calling me old, but it's
No,
okay.
no, no. Experienced.
Yeah, yeah, it was early days with Drexel doing that. And not one thing I think it's important to know, because I'm seeing this happen across the country right now. Digital navigators were really there as a resource initially, right? Helping people get connected to low-cost internet devices, things. But now it's kind of emerged also with those teaching digital skills, digital inclusion things. And so often I hear people saying, well, this is a new thing, like teaching these skills. Like, well, no, there have been digital inclusion, digital skills teachers for decades. We've been doing that. But so it's interesting seeing that digital navigator role kind of merge into that digital inclusion. And you just have to remember that people have been teaching these skills for a long time, especially in Philadelphia, but now that these roles are a little bit merging, it gets a little bit confusing sometimes too, I think.
Yeah, one of the best ways to identify organizations for developing and funding digital navigator programs is who is kind of doing it already, but just don't have enough money to do it more. And so I think, the very long-standing practices that a lot of organizations, communities that have done digital skills and other digital inclusion work is really important. If you want to learn more about that history, we have our digital access report that talks all about the sort of development of digital access in Philadelphia since the early 2000s, written by Andy. So I'm just going to give a quick plug to that, which I think you can find over at our website, and we'll
I
probably
just
have.
put the link in the chat. You
Okay.
stole my thunder, Dave. I was about to say the same
Oh
thing. Just a
no.
good time while we're talking about history to talk about the Digital Access Report, which TLC and One Philadelphia partnered to put together, and it was written by Andy Stutzman, who's here on the call. Yeah, I just put the link in the chat there that you can download the report. There's also a little discussion you can listen to about the report if you're an audio learner. uh, Andy, Danae from One Philadelphia, and I talked a little bit about the report. It's about a 17-minute recording, and then there's a nice visual timeline there that really gives you kind of the history of the digital equity work in Philadelphia, going all the way back to 2005 when Philadelphia was one of the first municipalities in the country to try to launch a municipal Wi-Fi network. It was not successful, but and I'm sure there was that was before my time in working on this in Philly, but I'm sure there was work happening even before that to lay the groundwork for that. So we have a really, really long, rich history here in Philadelphia of doing this work and doing it in a collaborative way.
I wanted to ask Kevin, I think you're the second most longstanding digital navigator, and you came in at a key point where Drexel was really starting to, they had started with a lot of community outreach during the pandemic, and you guys were out in the vests, right? Like going door to door, and I think you were part of that effort, right?
Yes, and
So if you could just describe like your kind of evolution of your own role.
well, even though I'm probably older than Andy or we're the same age, but he's the grandfather of of this effort. So he definitely dropped me in, and it was just jump in and see what you can do, and then learning that there's a lot more here than I ever initially thought. And just as I had alluded to earlier, the fact that yes, digital navigation, but that seems to undergird all of the other outreach efforts, all of the other things that are going on in the lives of these folks, and they're just sort of looking for someone to talk to them and give them some uplift. And then when you do give them digital uplift, that's when all the other things that sort of come to the forefront, and then you're able to get them help and support in so many other areas. So I've just you get to a point where you're humbled, and you're also appreciative of the fact that you're able to really do something material and help and support some people. And they'll tell you. And sometimes it's even intergenerational, and you didn't ask me about a story, but really, really quickly, I'll just think in terms of the idea of helping both the daughter, the daughter, the mother, and the grandfather, all of one household, and each of them a different digital issue, but it tied all in, and they all sort of supported each other on their efforts wherever they were on their digital journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a really important point that these sort of digital interventions for what seems like a simple task can unlock huge potential for folks, right? Helping them reset their password becomes the first step in a process of them getting a job beyond what they could have imagined for themselves,
Sure.
or getting access to housing or something really life-changing. And we hear those stories all the time, and they always start with these sort of these modest interventions that folks are providing, this help that they're providing, and it just kind of opens this pathway up. And I know
Sure.
at Drexel you have tons of those stories, which I will ask you
Absolutely.
guys about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So
Yeah,
go
no,
ahead.
you're good. That's great. Love it. So Alex, I think you guys came in about 2 years ago now. Maybe more than 2 years at this point, like 2.5 years. What has your experience been, kind of coming into this work, and kind of joining the network at the stage that you guys did?
Yeah, the digital skills program here, we started it in 2022, and for the first year it was just me, and so I was teaching the classes, running the show, planning the curriculum, and so on. And then in 2023 we got connected to the Digital Navigator network, and we got simultaneously another grant, a federal grant from the NTIA, and so we were able to expand the program out a substantial amount. And yeah, we were able to start offering a lot more services, distribute more devices, just a much wider reach. And even more than just that, also create stronger connections within Esperanza. Esperanza is a large organization. We have all kinds of different services. There's workforce development. There's schools that we're known for. There's housing assistance and so on and so forth. So just kind of beyond just making connections within the community, just even internally, right, with an organization of this size, kind of spreading awareness of the existence of the program and creating a an internal referral network as well as our external referral network. Um, yeah, beyond that, I mean, really, the story of this program has just been, kind of following the expansion and contraction of funding, as the funding kind of rolls and ebbs and flows, we've had to kind of shrink and grow and adapt and so on. So, right now, I think we're riding the end of a wave, and now it's, the funding is ebbing again, but hopefully, like last time, things will expand again, and the tide will come back in, if my analogy still makes any sense at all.
Yeah,
But
totally. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I think
yeah,
thinking of big federal funding, right, there was a really big federal funding push coming out of the pandemic to get more people connected to broadband, right? There were these huge multi-billion dollar federal initiatives. And a lot of those priorities shifted, as the administration priorities shifted. One reason why it's so important to have this network, right, of providers that have been there, that have been through these changes, is that there is a lot more continuity there than just wherever the funding happens to be coming from to get people connected to broadband, right, or to purchase devices. Part of TLC's role is to try to, roll with the punches a little bit, right, and help folks understand what does the landscape look like right now, what might be coming on the horizon, right? These have been somewhat cyclical, and so keeping up to date with that, and also finding those opportunities for folks, where it's available is important for us. But yeah, I think expansion and contraction is definitely a good definitely a good phrase for the environment. And Joe, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about like your own history and coming to the city and how the city has been kind of connecting with all these orgs and doing your own work in-house.
Sure, yeah. So a year ago when I was living in Pittsburgh, I worked for another adult education nonprofit called Literacy Pittsburgh. They do a lot of wonderful work out there within Allegheny County and in the city of Pittsburgh. But I was a digital skills instructor, so I did a lot of just strictly teaching with North Star curriculum and stuff like that. I knew they had 411, or excuse me, 311 in some capacity with digital navigation and everything, but um, when I came here, I was just like really impressed with just like how elaborate the network is and really the whole advocacy side of digital inclusion that I, kind of got a glimpse with my work and teaching and everything at Literacy Pittsburgh, but just wasn't totally aware of. And being on that side of things is really cool. I mean, I've got stories that, similar to the folks here have been sharing. It's much more forward facing and getting to know people in a more, I think, serious context. And the one thing that I've gotten, the one lesson I've learned is just kind of viewing internet more as a essential utility, like heating and electricity. in terms of just, what we need to live in our day-to-day lives. And that's, I think, a big part of what this work is about, is getting that access to people who need it.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really great way of putting it. Um, Speaking of the people who need it, I'm wondering if folks have individual stories that they can think of where, they just sticks in mind as like a memorable encounter that you've had, or support that you've provided, or an outcome that you've noticed from folks.
I'll jump in with a not uncommon story that we see. And I think it speaks to, David, I think you had a slide that spoke to, that referenced trust and comfort when it comes to, you know, being a core component of bridging that divide. We work, a lot of seniors attend our digital skills classes, and it's because they're very small and accessible. They're in libraries, they're in senior centers, they're in, places that they're going to already, and that's intentional. And they get very close with their instructors, and so they're developing these skills that they long thought were just unattainable to them, like computer skills. Technology is just, it's like another foreign language to them that they feel like they were left out of and left behind from. And so these classes are really like uh, eye-opening and expanding for a lot of these seniors. So with that newfound confidence and enthusiasm, we've had quite a few of those folks then enroll in our GED classes and go back to school. Something again that they thought was like just out of reach for them, because it had been so long, it had been so difficult. Things had been, they thought their time had come and gone. So, it's just always great to see the impact of that confidence in those relationships and what that can help support for folks. So yeah, I love that.
Any other
I can,
stories? Yeah.
yeah, I can jump in. So, well, I guess I'll do two since one of them is very related. Yeah, also serve a lot of older adults, and there's one a student in particular. She's been coming for many years now, basically since the program started, and she had never touched a computer in her life. Something totally foreign to her, and now after, she's been coming to our classes for years now. And even though some of the material is the same, she comes to, kind of reinforce the skills that she's learned and help out other students too. She's just there to help them learn and just to kind of enjoy being there. And, we're updating our curriculum all the time. So when we have new classes, she's able to take advantage of those. And now she's able to do things like make purchases online, or pay bills, that sort of thing, which is something that a lot of our common goals that our students have. Another one that I'll add very quickly, a lot of another common archetype is our job seekers, since our program is primarily stationed in the Career Link Center that Esperanza operates. So a lot of the people that we get referred to us or that find interest in our classes are people that are looking for work. So people use not just the devices that they get from our program, but also the skills that they are sharpening or developing to help them with their job search, not just in terms of applying for jobs, but also something that they can put on their resume. So we had one individual who, she had was a supervisor for a very, very long time, and she always had an executive assistant, or there was IT staff that would kind of handle computer stuff for her, so she never really needed to worry about it. And she had a really long, illustrious career, and then all of a sudden she was laid off, and she was like, "Uh-oh, now I need to face a totally digitized job market. What do I do now?" So she attended our classes and got, up to speed with things, and we helped her one-on-one kind of achieve some goals, and she was able to find another job. And even, I think, she was able to find another job that had a like $200,000 salary increase from her previous position, which was very impressive. I will say that that's a common outcome for our clients by any stretch, but yeah, that stuck out to me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to the need for this across many different spectrums, right? I mean, it's not just a certain type of person that needs support with digital skills. It's really, it's everybody. Um,
Yeah. And I was just going to jump in, it also speaks to like the fact that it takes time to develop those skills to get to those places to be able to make those achievements. So, you know, these are all like investments, in these programs to, give people the time to really develop the skills that they need. That takes time. It takes dedicated funding to continue to be able to provide those services over time. It's a couple of years for our learners to make it through the North Star program that we offer, so they can graduate from our class. Because many are starting at a very very basic level. So you know, it like Alex said, they're there for a while because it takes time and it takes trust and all of those good things. So
yeah. Yeah, and and if it's connected to other programming, right? It's not just digital skills, but without digital skills, you can't necessarily do all the other things. So it's really kind of amazing to hear those interconnections. I'm wondering, we have about 5 minutes left. I'm wondering if we have any questions from folks that are here today that they wanted to learn from our digital navigators today. If you have any questions for folks, otherwise I can go to a lightning round. Feel free to use the chat or ask. And if we are waiting for that, my list is one lightning round question, which is just advice for organizations that are thinking about integrating, improving, or just otherwise dealing with the digital needs of the clients that they work with. So they may not have like a dedicated digital navigator on staff. What is some of your advice for folks that are kind of at the beginning of this process?
David, personally, I believe don't overthink it. If you are interested in it, and if you know that we already know that the digital divide is so immense. But if you are an organization and you have a cohort, you have a group of folks, and you know they need it, so just jump in and do it. You can do it in increments, and you can just continue to build upon it. But I think waiting on it and not doing it until all your ducks are in a row, I, I think you're doing a disservice to the people that you really want to do some good work for and to help. So I would just say you jump in it, you'll be ahead of them. So you're doing something for them, and then you just continue to build upon it to the point where you have some cohesion, and then it just becomes a stronger program as you go.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd build on that by saying also saying don't do anything from scratch. Don't start creating your own curriculum. There's so much out there
yeah,
that we either locally or nationally it's out there, and you can always modify it to meet your exact needs as well. So don't spin your wheels trying to figure out how to build this curriculum, build this program out. Just try and look for examples and resources that are out there first. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Connect to the resources that already exist, many of whom are in this room, right?
Yes.
So you are in a fortunate place to already have a landscape that has already been doing a lot of work in this area. So look for where there's resources and there's training opportunities and information that you can access pretty easily.
So don't reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's a lot of really big wheels that have been invented. If you need to know what the wheels are, you can go to our website. You can email me. I'll talk to you all about the wheels that are out there. Not every wheel has been invented, but many of them have been. And a lot of people's impulse to start building something from scratch, that's probably it might already be out there. Yeah. Any other advice for folks getting started in this environment?
I think these may be obvious observations. They may not be that helpful because it depends on your capacity, but really, as individualized as you can get, the better, right? I mean, the more individual support that you can do. At least my kind of core belief in how I've structured our program is that it's better to serve one person completely than serve 100 people at 2%, right? It's like I can have a class with 200 people in it and they're all learning digital skills, but how much of that is actually going to make a material impact on their daily life? And the answer is like probably very few, right? So I think it's better to just, yeah, like Kevin said, if you have a cohort, start small, right? And focus within a reasonable scope, of course, on the achievable goals that they have, and then you can kind of expand that from there.
Great.
And then the other thing I was going to say, patience. I mean, it requires a lot of patience. Computers are annoying and terrible, and they are going to frustrate. They frustrate you. They're going to frustrate, especially someone who is new to learning it, right? So, being extremely patient is a foundational piece of this.
Great. Yes, so much patience. It's yeah, very important. And I loved Alex too what you said before about connecting previous learners to become essentially peer mentors. It's a really great program happening with other organizations in the city. So there's another piece of this is that there are lots of organizations doing parts of this work. Like no one organization does all the work. There are a couple of organizations that the Digital Literacy Alliance created digital bridge programs to specifically get those peer facilitators, folks that have been through their programming, to then go back out into their communities and do some turnaround training with folks that may need that first step. So it's a really cool program with a lot of different orgs. I think that is what we have time for today. I just wanted to quickly do a plug that Kate shared in the comments here. We have another Philly Tech Week event tomorrow in person. It's in Center City at Tech Impact near Logan Circle. And it's going to be about Philly Community Wireless, who I mentioned in our alternative internet options earlier in the presentation, and their approach to providing free community internet. So if you were interested in that part of it, feel free to come and join us tomorrow for another Tech Impact event. And yeah, just connect with us. Just join the listserv, keep in touch with us, email us, and we will be in touch with everyone. All right, so thanks so much to all of our presenters today, to our digital navigators.
Thanks for having me, having us.
Yeah, and
you.
we'll see you at the next Tech Week event.
That's
Happy
it.
Philly Tech
See you
Thanks,
Week.
soon.
David.
Thanks
Great
for
seeing you
joining
all.
us.
Great.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.